Hey, how's it going, captains? Admiral Tori here, and welcome aboard for another World of Warships video on my channel. In today's video, I am selling the Tier 9 Japanese aircraft carrier, the Taiho. Now, this game was an alright game in terms of damage, but the reason why I like this game is because the player I'm facing is a challenging player to fight. And the reason why I know this is not because I know the player personally, but I recognize the clan tag, which is OPG. Now, I don't follow clans on World of Warships, but one thing I do know is that when I play carriers, I usually end up against a division mate of a person who plays a carrier with his clan mate or division, or whatever you want to say it, whatever the case it is. They usually have an AA ship. So the combination of being in a division and they also have a clan tag that is well recognized made this game pretty interesting. So I am at a disadvantage, and I think in the beginning match I kind of make a mistake because I was too busy looking at the bombers. I was trying to figure out where should I send my bombers. So our friendly Fletcher on the B flag will get hit by the torpedoes without any contest from my fighters because I was not paying attention. But this match kind of really display of how I handled the situation, and I knew from the beginning that I was going to go up against somebody that I should be much more cautious about my decision. So first things first, you're gonna see the Fletcher get attacked by the bombers. Luckily, the torpedo bombers miss because the player decides to rush his torpedo bombers since he spotted my fighters coming towards him. I lost one of my fighters to the Neptune, and the Neptune is his division mate if I recall correctly. But they definitely have a lot of AA ships. So I'm trying to figure out where should I send my fighters. I noticed that there's two dive bombers on the northern part of the map, so I'm going to send both my fighters over there. He's playing the Essex, and he's expected to win pretty much a majority of the dogfights. So at this point, playing the Taiho and me not having air supremacy at all, I know that I have to use my fighters correctly. I cannot take the initiative to attack him first. He has to punch me first. So right here, I send my bombers down south because I know both of his fighters are in B and A, but at one point I will pull my bombers out. But originally, I sent my bombers south because there was really nothing else to attack in the middle, because if I send my bombers through the middle, I'm facing the Essex player and I know that he can strafe well, plus the enemy team is well grouped. So I'm just waiting for an opportunity, which I always do. So right here, I'm still trying to keep track of his bombers, and unfortunately one of my fighters gets shot down again by his division mate, the Neptune. Yeah, it's really rough when it comes to playing high tier carriers because I always go against these type of divisions. So right here, I noticed that he's going to try to spot the Fletcher, and I was hoping that the Fletcher would get out the B flag, but it looks like he's just pushing his luck against the carrier. I'm sure that he thinks that I think I can deal with him, but honestly, there's no way I'm going to win this fight. I go in with my fighters in hopes of trying to shoot down his Corsairs. Here comes his fighters, and right here, it's pretty much I just wasted my fighters. So I'm going to try to make an effort to strafe these bombers, but there's just no way. Here goes the strafe. I got one plane. Yeah, it's just not going to work. See, I get into this dilemma where I want to help somebody, but the problem is that I know that I'm not going to win, and I don't get anything in return. And in this case, I just wasted both squadrons of fighters just to save this Fletcher, who just uses his smoke up. So I was hoping that the Fletcher would make a more wise decision to go into B, but at the same time, since both of his fighters are at B, I took the opportunity to strike the Scharnhorst, which was the opening that I needed. So the Scharnhorst is trying really hard to dodge it, but there's just no way a tier 7 battleship can deal with a tier 9 Taiho bombers. So I'm going to go in with my torpedo bombers and dive bombers. I'm trying to keep both my bombers spread out because if I get too close to each other, it's going to be a very easy strafe to wipe both of my squadrons. Now, the enemy Essex made the mistake of not taking down my bombers, but in most cases, 90% of the time, it's not going to do so well. But in this game, I got really lucky with those dive bombers. Like, it's unbelievable how lucky I got with them. So right here, I'm trying to save as many torpedo bombers as possible. But look at that Squadron 7. I didn't even pay attention to it. I go for a random automatic drop, and it wasn't that well aligned. And look at that, 3 hits out of 4, score 2 fires that I should have never scored. Normally it's already lucky enough to get 2 fires with 2 squads of dive bombers, but with a single one automatic drop, I managed to score 2 fires, which pretty much finish off the Scharnhorst. So yeah, I got really lucky right there. So my bombers are making back to my carrier. And I think one point that people like to point out when it comes to playing carriers is that, are you always on the attack? Are you supposed to be agile with your attack, or constantly putting pressure against the enemy carrier and the team at the same time? It really depends on who you ask. And right here I'm trying my best to save this Tirpitz. This game I'm just trying to figure out what decision to make, because a lot of these ships are way out of position and I can't watch over them all the time. So I try to at least finish off this torpedo bomber. So you notice that I play very slow. I just wait. My patience is always being tested when it comes to playing carriers, and to me, with my experience from what I've seen, I personally like to wait more than just rush my attack, because I usually find the result of rushing an attack or constantly trying to attack a ship doesn't end so well, and then when you need bombers at the end of the game, you tend to run out, and that situation you could have turned the game around, you really wish that you had bombers left on your carrier. So right here again, the Fletcher is going to get caught by the enemy fighters. Really, the Fletcher should have fall back, but you gotta applaud him for trying to make an attempt to take the B flag, while our team is stacking somewhere in A, and several other ships are scattered down in the south, doing really just messing around with the enemy, shooting at them, shooting back at them. So nothing productive at this moment. So I'm trying my best to figure out what to do, how to help the situation with the Fletcher. And luckily, I think I do win this dogfight, because the friendly Fletcher A8 goes off, and the enemy carrier fighters, I don't think he cycled them. So they were already weak from the previous fight. So now my next move is to find another target. Now since I'm keeping track of the enemy's movement, because that's the biggest skill that you usually gain from playing carriers, that perception of when to attack, understanding when the fighters are down, when the enemy carrier is cycling his fighter. I know for a fact that both his fighters are going to be down for a solid minute, so this is a great opportunity to find a battleship to strike. So I'm going to go for this Iowa, and I believe this Iowa is also in a division. I'm not sure if he is in a division with his carrier, but I do know for a fact that this Iowa is going to be a tough target to attack. I spot the enemy dive bombers. I'm trying to go in. I'm using my dive bombers really carelessly here, because I don't really depend on my dive bombers damage. I was hoping just do something random with them. Normally I follow up with dive bombers like I did with the Scharnhorst, but for some reason I'm just messing around with my dive bombers at this moment. So the Iowa is turning away, and the Iowa is next to the Neptune, and I decided to back off on attack and go for a more preferable target, which is the Alabama that is by itself. Knowing for a fact that Alabama has no chance, since the enemy carrier is down. So I'm going to line up with attack, and here we go. At this moment, I notice that the enemy dive bombers is going for the Tirpitz. Like I said, my team is making it harder than it should be for me to keep up with them. My friendly Fletcher is going to be attacked by the torpedo bombers. I'm trying to line up an attack on the Alabama, and I managed to kill the Alabama, but I'm going in, trying to get the Tirpitz, and the Tirpitz is pretty much done for. Going for a strafe, trying to wipe out as many reserves as I can, or at least take out most of his planes, make it difficult. I'm not going to finish off that one squad right there, because it's kind of pointless. I want to pretty much make it an inconvenience for the enemy carrier, because then he had to send that squad all the way back and refuel, rearm, and replenish those squad, instead of just wipe them out and they're already waiting to be sent back into the air. So right here I get caught into a chase with the enemy carrier. Gonna send my fighter to the Fletcher again in hopes of defending the Fletcher, because he's the only one trying to take the B flag, or defend the B flag at least. Now notice that the Leningrad is going to be spotted by the enemy carrier, which makes it very difficult for me to keep up again. I'm trying to figure out what's my next attack. I managed to sink 2 ships so far, both battleships. cycling my dive bombers at the moment. I decided that I'm going to try to save the Leningrad from being spotted. Luckily, the Leningrad doesn't have any cruisers nearby that can shoot at it while it's being spotted. I'm not sure if I'm going to engage the Essex at this moment. Probably not. Like I said, you don't want to engage an Essex. In general, if you're playing a carrier and you know for a fact that you're not going to win the dogfights, don't engage. Just simply don't engage at all. Unless you have to. The only reason you will engage the enemy fighters, even though you know for a fact that you're going to lose the dogfight, is to keep them busy while you're trying to pull off another attack onto a ship, right? So, the enemy carrier is trying to figure out what to do at this moment. I think he ran out of bombers by now. I'm going to send my torpedo bombers down south. I'm just waiting for an opening. Really, at this point, it's going to be very slow because I'm going to get one more kill. I spotted the torpedo bombers going towards the Leningrad, so I decided to try to save the Leningrad, or at least make an effort or move to help the Leningrad. The Essex pull off on that attack, sending my dive bombers to scout. I'm going to just randomly automatic drop the Iowa. So right here, I'm going to try to save the Leningrad, but there's just no way I can get there in time. He has both of my fighters locked down. My dive bombers actually hit the Essex. Most of them are going to die, but a few of them will survive, and I'm going to use these dive bombers as a means to spot the enemy Essex. I'm getting ready for an attack on the enemy Fiji, not the Iowa, because the Iowa is about to die. Originally, I wanted to attack the Essex, but since I'm going to assume that the Essex is going to respond to my dive bombers by sending his fighters over there, it might be a great opportunity to attack the Fiji instead. Lost both my fighters, keeping the Essex spotted. The enemy Essex already dropped bombs onto some other ship, I think. The Iowa should be going down sooner or later. Right here, I stopped my attack for a moment because the enemy Essex fighter was nearby the two ships here. But now he is turning away to look for my dive bombers. I'm going to go in for the cross drop, the anvil hammer attack onto the Fiji. Fiji smoked up. He disappears, but I do remember his position, and I'm going to drop a lot of torpedoes anyways. There goes the drop. Enemy trying to react to the drop here. It's too late. And that's pretty much game. I think the Leningrad will kill the Essex. So aside from that, I hope you guys enjoyed this little small competitive video, if I put it that way. And I'll see you guys next time on World of Warships.